and welcome to another How Does That Work video. Today's video is going to be about cars. Now, cars are everywhere, and I suspect almost all of you have been in a car at some point. Turn the key, off it goes, but have you ever stopped to wonder how do they work? Today we're going to find out.
So today we're looking at cars and asking how do they work. Cars come in many different colours, shapes and sizes, but all of them share some important features. An engine, a steering wheel, and wheels and brakes. Now let's start off with the steering wheel. The steering wheel is quite simple to understand. It's attached to axles, which the wheels sit on. There's the steering wheel, there are the wheels. And although the mechanism might look a bit different to this is exactly what's going on in your car. As you turn the steering wheel left and right, it moves the wheels in the same direction too. Now what about braking? Brakes are super important so you can slow down. Brakes in a car work like this. Two pads squeeze onto part of the wheel to slow it down. There's the wheel, and you can see those two pads squeezing it. Squeezing the wheel makes it harder for the wheel to move, and so it begins to slow down. But let's move on and talk about the most important, and I think most interesting part of the car, the engine. Well, some engines do look like this, but the engines in the cars you've probably been in look more like this. This is my one. Now the engine is the part of the car that makes it go, turning energy from fuel into movement. Most cars run on liquid fuel, known as petrol or diesel. This fuel goes into a tank and gets passed to the engine when the car is turned on. And this is where things start to get very clever. Have a look at this picture. This is a diagram of what's going on in your car engine. It starts out with the fuel coming into a small compartment. This fuel gets squashed together. And then, bang! A spark makes it explode. Now this explosion is not a big one, and it doesn't damage the car. Instead, it pushes this bit here, the piston, down and causes the mechanism below it to begin to turn. Just like this. You can see fuel coming in, a spark, and this mechanism turning around and around. Now this bit down here is connected to all sorts of fancy bits and bobs, but eventually all these bits connect to the wheels, and that circular movement we made in the engine makes the wheels go round. Now this is great. Having engines and wheels in our cars means we can visit all sorts of places and travel much more quickly than if we had to use our legs. But unfortunately, whilst burning petrol and diesel in an engine is a great way to make a car go, it produces a lot of waste. The gases that come from a car exhaust, that's this bit where the waste comes out, are not very good for humans to breathe in, and aren't very good for the planet either. Although sometimes we need cars, we can cycle or walk. These don't produce any pollution, plus it's good exercise too. Now before we leave, let's take a trip into the future. In the future, cars will probably be a bit different. Well, maybe they'll fly, and maybe the driver might even be a computer. But one thing we know for sure is that less and less of them will be using petrol, and more of them will be using electricity. Electric cars are quicker and quieter than petrol cars because they have a motor that runs on electricity from a charged-up battery, just like a phone or the remote control for your TV. These motors don't use petrol, so no noisy explosions and no nasty waste gas. For now, electric cars are still very expensive. Batteries are only starting to hold enough charge to go on long journeys, plus we still need to make sure that we get our electricity in a way that doesn't burn fuel. But perhaps one day you'll be one of the scientists or engineers who helps solve these problems and makes electric cars a popular choice for getting around.
Well, that's it for another video. As always, stay smiling, stay curious, and keep on asking, how does that work? See you again soon.